experienced free education. The economy was good. What is it that is missing in terms of the qualities of leadership of the leaders of yesterday and leaders of today who have actually embraced technology? I mean, the leaders of today, surely they should be doing better than the leaders of yesterday.
They had integrity. They had the welfare of the people at heart. Although they were not as educated as many of our leaders now, but they had integrity. They had this spirit of selfless service to work for the vulnerable, the poor. They had wisdom as well. These were, you know, we don't emphasize this too much. These were very spiritual men, religious men, who were educated through missionary schools, many of them. And so for them, their leadership was about service. That is lacking. And the other dimension to them, because of that wisdom, they also tapped on the talent of those who were educated, those who were able to frame and advise in a positive way and use their talents. So you talk about the education that we all received. That's what they did. They made sure that although they didn't have the education that we did, we who were educated would come back and develop the country. So they depended on expertise and encouraged that expertise. We lack that. So in a sense, the bottom line was that, of course, integrity, yes, principled leadership, yes, there's morality, and their focus on helping the poor and uplifting the plight of our people and depending on experts amongst ourselves. And they were not insecure. They were not insecure. They were broad-minded in their thinking.
Let me thrash out, this issue, and then we'll move on, to your presidency, of UNIT. The leadership today leaves much to be desired. I mean, the quality of most of our leaders, not only in Zambia, in Africa, leaves much to be desired. My question, Bishop, is why do we embrace poor leadership? Is this what defines who we are?
Not at all. Well, Frank, look at Zambia. Look at its history. The kind of leadership that Zambia has had from the beginning. It's a very positive leadership.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have no problem with
principled leadership.
With the leadership of yesterday. I'm talking about the leadership of today.
Precisely the point. But we must see where we went wrong. It's about moral leadership. These were men, as I mentioned, came through mission education. They were religious and God-fearing men and women. They saw that their gifts in life was not for themselves, but for the benefit of others. So they were not focused on themselves. And that is very important in understanding what true leadership is about. These were what I'll call servant leaders. They were not masters. They were not there trying to twist and turn things for their own benefit. They were there respecting what the Constitution was about and not trying to twist and turn it to fit certain agendas. These were men and women, and that's what true leadership is, of principles. When we lose that, and what I call the moral compass, then we go down the drain. And somewhere along the way, and I would say in 1991, that moral compass went berserk. We lost the moral compass. We had leaders now who were vindictive in their approach to development because a certain leader or a party or whatever had done certain things, they were out to destroy it totally. That's when you lose your moral compass. You see, in life, we must always build on what those before us have laid. And in this case, respect is important. Moral compass, moral leadership. That's what we need to regain. And we must elect leaders who have that morality, that principle, that conscience that they are not there for themselves, but for the good of whoever they are there to be leaders of. And in that case, as I say, servant leadership.
I am fortunate, blessed to know you as somebody with strong family values, strong value, fiber. Again, my question is, as much as I know that this is important for political leaders, how do we know? What gauge should we be using to know that these people should be people of high moral background? Okay, how do we dissect them before we even embrace them as political leaders?
I think it's very simple. We all live in communities. We should be asking the question that, hey, Ambassador Frank Mutubila, how is he? What drives him? Is he someone we can entrust ourselves to? Ourselves, our children, our children's children. Is he a man of principles? Is he a God-fearing person, or someone who respects people? Is he honorable? Is he straight? We should be digging into the lives of these people, because I'll tell you what, our Lord in the Bible talks about he who is faithful in small things, will be faithful in big things and opportunities. But if someone is not faithful and we discover that somebody has messed up and messed up again, do you think that if you entrust them with the big things, they will do those things? Not at all. I think Professor P.L.O. Lumumba says something to this effect, and I'm paraphrasing it, that, you see, you should not be shocked if you get a hyena to look after the goats. And then when you discover that the hyena has butchered and, eaten all the goats, don't act surprised, because that's what a hyena will do. So it's about interrogating and getting to know people who are the people that we want to entrust ourselves to.
Life audit is important.
Of course, absolutely. A life audit. People, we know each other, in terms of the church, where they go to church, if they go to church, or friends, and so on. And no one lives in a vacuum. The records are there. Take those records seriously, and don't just think, oh, well.
I did mention, that the characters of some of our political leaders in this country leaves much to be desired. I'll be coming to your presidency very shortly of UNIP. What is this man, a man of the color, doing in politics, which some people, label as dirty?
Well, I'll tell you what. You see, actually, politics is not dirty.
It's a human being.
Politics is neutral. It's like anything.
Yeah.
But it is the people who make it dirty.
Yeah.
And this is how they make it dirty. It's because we have so many nice, well-meaning, beautiful people who would do very well in politics. But because they think it's a dirty game, they will not get into it to make it clean. So what happens is that there's a stampede of vouchers, those who are dirty, and they play the political game. And we stand back and say, oh dear, politics is a dirty game. It isn't. It's simply that we've allowed people with no morals, no principles, to be at the helm. And that's what makes it dirty. What should be happening is that it's imperative on all people of goodwill to be engaged in politics. I think it was Lord Bilko said something to the effect that all that evil needs to triumph is for good people to just keep quiet. And that's what happens most of the time. So the way to approach this, and in the context of I as a bishop, as a clergy, and so on, is to realize that, you see, politics is part of God's dispensation. The world belongs to God, and leadership is a gift from God. So I see my role in politics as a calling, and it's a continuation of my calling as it has always been, that now the time has come in my own journey with God to step in and go forward and try and render whatever service, whatever leadership I can, and not just leave things to drift. I have to account before God, and we all have to account.
You lived well in England, in Germany. You have been away from home for a long time. Why are you living the wonderful confines of your life and to come back home here after such a long time? I know you've made reference to the fact that it's a calling now when the situation in our country is dire politically and especially economically.
And that's precisely the reason why. It's when things are not right, when things are desperate, when things are dark, that's when, in my understanding of my life and how God works, God steps into the picture, as it were, so that light will shine in the darkness, so that reason will come about where there is confusion. It is precisely then. It's always about the timing of God. You see, in the Old Testament, in Exodus, for example, when Moses is called, he is called to go into Egypt to redeem, or rather to rescue the children of Israel, because the Bible says, and God heard their cries, their afflictions, and then God sends his servant Moses to go and take him out of that slavery. It's precisely when it is dark that the stars shine. And so this is the context. And for me, it's a fascinating challenge.
Are you the man to make a positive change to a country?
I am not the man to make a positive change to the country, but I am an instrument of God who can make a positive change to the country, precisely because I see where the path is for my life, that all my life, as you know, my training has been very wide. My first degree was in law. I have a degree in theology. I have a degree in social anthropology. I was in banking, and so I've had a very vast and broad experience of life. And it's bringing all those gifts and the encounters that I've had in different countries and meeting great men and women, and the opportunities I have been given, being Secretary General of our Anglican province, as well as being Bishop of the Anglican Church in Botswana, in England, as you mooted in Europe. All that frames you, shapes you to become what God would want you to be for a particular purpose, a particular word I should be using is function. And this is where we are.
I'll be coming to UNIP very shortly. I keep on delaying it because I want to thrash at a couple important issues. From where you stand, what's wrong with this country now?
Where we stand, as I mentioned, it's the moral compass. You see, generally, and this is my view, Zambians are honorable people, very honorable people. They're beautiful people. They're peace-loving people. They are God's people. And this country itself is, I would say, God's own country. A friend drew my attention to it some time ago, that even the name Zambia, I think, from Zambezi or Yambezi, meaning God's country. the national anthem, our national anthem, is actually a hymn. Praise be to God is one of the verses. And so what I'm trying to say is that Zambians as a whole are very peaceful, loving, simple people, and who just would like to go about living their lives simply. But the poverty and all this that has come in, it's not deserving of Zambians. And how has it come in? I did say that along the way we lost our moral compass. Our leaders have lost the sense of service. We look at the situation in which the corruption, which is evident to everybody, unless you're blind, it's absolutely criminal. It shouldn't be happening. Because what corruption does, you see, is impoverish people, especially the very poor. Who pays the price? It's the poor. The malnutrition, the lack of medicines in hospitals, the lack of desks and chairs in schools. Everything deteriorates because people are holding and taking what should be for everybody. The leadership dimension. And that's because we lost our moral compass. We stopped hearing what is right and what is wrong. And what is wrong has become no more.
Is it the moral compass, that is impacted the poor economy, that this country is facing right now, or there's more to
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely. Because you see, it's a vicious circle, or rather it's a domino effect. The moral compass, the corruption, is not just about one little sector. It creeps into the whole system. It's almost like a cancer. In fact, it is a cancer. And the body, if Zambia was a human being, it will be in the intensive care unit. It will be dying. And it would need emergency and surgical operation to try and revive it. That's what corruption does. So the institutions, there's a need for wholesale revitalizing and reviving and resurrecting of all this. Because when you see corruption eats into all these sectors, that has to be dealt with, that has to be eradicated. And it's possible. Because you see, this is just a few. Don't think that it's just all Zambians. There are many Zambians who just keep quiet and pray and hope that salvation will come. Well, God does answer prayers, and I think salvation is before us because the power is in the hands of the Zambians to bring about that change through their votes, that this is what we want. So we have a choice between business as usual or transformation to something that is better, that is moral, that is that is right.
You got a great family. You're married to a lady from Botswana, right? Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What about this marriage now with UNIP? Where does this marriage come from?
Tremendous. I mean, it's made in heaven, if I'll put it that way. The marriage with UNIP is made in heaven. Why? Again, we go back to what UNIP is about. This is the mother party, the father party. It's the party of the nation. It is the party of Zambia. The history of UNIP is the history of Zambia. And the history of Zambia is the history of UNIP, as we know what UNIP has done and what UNIP can do. So in my context, and any Zambian, we're all children of UNIP and grandchildren of UNIP and great-grandchildren of UNIP. So for me, call it a marriage, but it's more a question of getting back to my roots. It is the only logical thing that this great party, which has done so much and which has much to offer in terms of principles, in terms of values, in terms of leadership, in terms of policies. I mean, humanism was the anchor of what UNIP stood for. But then people may ask, what really is humanism? Humanism takes us back to our essence as human beings. It's the it is the importance of valuing the person, and it is the importance of realizing that everything must work for the benefit of the person. And it is also the importance of realizing that we're there for each other. And so humanism takes the importance of the human being as not just a human being on their own, but that human being is a child of God, made in a special image, inalienable right, which is divine right, which comes from God. And that we must respect. So in the context of UNEP, the party has this ideology, this philosophy, that this is what we stand for, the good of all.
This is the oldest political party in this country. There are those who are saying it hasn't evolved, with modern times, modern changes. There are those who be saying it's almost dying. How are you going to resuscitate? You need more than Jesus to resuscitate this.
It hasn't evolved. Of course it has evolved. Look, here I am, right here. You're interviewing the new UNEP president. Yeah. If it had not evolved, I would not be here. It would be definitely dead. It would be, be there and saying, may it so rest in peace. But no, UNEP has evolved. It has evolved to the degree that I am the new president. It has evolved to the degree that we are putting forth candidates across the country to contest the general election. It has evolved to the degree that one of our emphasis is on the youth, and that my running mate is a young man. His name is John Brown Harawa, an engineer, a brilliant young man, but 40 years old. I presume he will be the youngest running mate if we had to check the ages and so on. The other parties have our grandmothers there, and that's all right. But this is evolving. It has evolved. So no. Those who say UNEP has not evolved are not reading and seeing the situation clearly.
UNEP is synonymous with President Kaunda. I mean, he was first president of this country. First, did you consult the president? Two,
consult the president in what context?
Did you sit with him and say, look, I think I want to be one extension of you in this party, this great party, that you started. That's part of the equation. An extension of that. Is this an advantage or a disadvantage for the party being synonymous with President Kaunda?
I think we take great pride, as we talked earlier in the context of President Kaunda's role in the Pan-African context. We honor and we absolutely look to him. He's an inspiring leader and a great leader, an international leader, a great statesman. I have had the privilege of meeting President Julius Nyerere. I've had the privilege of meeting President Mandela, both of them before they died, and President Sakhitumira Masiri, and other heads of states, but also some of the great thinkers who I have not had the privilege of meeting, but reading about them. Through books, you encounter them. There is this great man, Dag Hammarskjöld, who died in Zambia. In fact, 60 years ago, in September this year. Lee Kuan Yew. Why am I saying this? Now, these are giants in their own rights. Giants, great men. President Kaunda is this giant, great man, a titan. UNEP, under the leadership of President Kaunda, did amazing things. I come to build on the foundation that our founding fathers, founding mothers laid. It's a principle, as we talked about, morality, moral leadership, servitude or servant leadership. These are honorable things. So in taking leadership, one seeks the blessing of such great people. One would be a fool not to even imagine that, this is what it is. President Kaunda's history of Zambia. Yes, it's very much a history of Zambia. So I'm honored and I'm blessed that indeed there is such a great man to look up to in terms of being inspired. It's important.
Have you shared anything with Dr. Kaunda in terms of leadership strategies, and has he given you some pep talk and said, look, my son, this is the way to lead?
Let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
I've known my dear father, President Kaunda, since I was 7 years old. And he has seen me grow. And when I studied law, my father was in government. My uncle, Mr. James Mapoma, was on the leading figures in our society. He worked with President Kaunda. He was always asking me, President Kaunda, what I was doing, what I was up to, and followed my life very closely. So we met in different places. I went into the church. So what I'm trying to say is simply that, no, I haven't sat down now saying, hey, what are we? But over the years, through his advice, through the advice of people like my uncle and government and others, I have been learning and absorbing and understanding leadership and how it should be done properly. So, yes, his advice is always there, always welcome. But above all, you see, one thing I admire most about our president, President Kaunda, is his spirituality. He's a deeply religious man. And his sermon is simply these few sentences, these few words: love the Lord your God with all your heart. In other words, with all your being. And then he goes on to say, and love your neighbor as yourself. That is what has driven his Tienda Pamosi teaching in politics and one Zambia, one nation. It's this that I have subscribed to.
Before I talk about the critical, things, metamorphoses, that, UNIP has gone through in this period, with you, apart from being a man of the caller, what are your strengths as Bishop Mwamba?
Yes, very good. You remind me of what the Greeks used to say. The Greeks had this saying, and which is very important: know thyself. You must know your strengths, you must know your weaknesses. My strengths are strengths of leadership, and I've been in the church and I'm a bishop. They're strengths of unifying people. They are strengths of, indeed, service. I believe my life is there for others. I'm there to encourage others. I'm there to help others. I'm there to inspire others. I'm there to try and mediate where there are conflicts. God has given me this gift of relating to people easily. Those are strengths and those are gifts. My weaknesses is that I think I love people too much. And in the context of loving people too much, you may trust people too much. But that doesn't matter, because it's better to err on the side of loving than hating. But my gifts are, my strengths are that I'm a man for others, I'm a friend for others, and that is something I cherish.
50 years and more, this country is divided more than at any time. the tribal differences now are more amplified. Where do you start from in terms of uniting, this country?
You start from the foundation that this is not what Zambia is. This is not what Zambia was. Along the way, as I said, that moral compass. Let's get back to that moral compass, because that moral compass is about our identity. In fact, it's about our spirituality. It's about our belief as human beings. To look at you and for you to look at me, I look at you and I see a brother. I see a human being made in the image of God.
Yeah.
I see someone who is a mysterious being, but who I should respect and honor, because I see the divine in you. If you look at me and you don't see that, then you can treat me like rubbish.
Yeah.
But to treat somebody in a demeaning way, in an insulting way, and hence, as you say, the tribalism or the divisions and so forth, where is it coming from? How can you treat another human being made in the image of God like that? No, that is not right. So where do we start? We start with the foundation of who we really are. And we need the leadership that can assure us and inspire us to say, don't listen to such nonsense. You are special. You are priceless. You are made in the image of God, and we are one. We are brothers and sisters, and hence, let's go back to the one Zambia, one nation, and let's live that. We say we are a Christian nation. We say it's embedded in the Constitution, then show it in terms of how we treat each other. Let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
I'm contesting the presidency of Zambia. By the grace of God, which will definitely happen, I win the presidency. In the unlikely event of I losing the presidency, I shall pay due respect to whoever is elected president. And I shall do everything in my power to help whoever is elected president of Zambia achieve their objective and task in uplifting the country. I shall work with anyone who assumes that. What am I saying? I'm just saying this. The Zambian people have the power to choose who they want, and it's not for people to manipulate. So whoever wins, wins. But in the context in which we're talking, I, as the president of Zambia, will be a president who is there to uplift every Zambian to believe in themselves and not believe the lies that other people may say about them because you come from X place, because you are this gender, or because you are this, you are useless. No. In fact, that should be criminalized. Anybody who insults and demeans a child of God should not be allowed to get away with it.
I'll be talking about what unit stands for and what it is that it's projecting. But since you've already touched on the issue of whether you're going to be elected or not, the writer to that question is, from what you've seen so far, is the environment conducive for a fair playground for everybody to contest fairly? I say this in the context of the fact that some of the leaders I've talked to said the situation is not conducive. They can't get access to the media. We now have COVID. It's difficult to campaign. Doesn't that make it difficult for you to sit here and say, I will contest fairly, and the base player will win the contest?
We must make it conducive. I mean, life is what we make of it. We cannot allow, one person to dictate or one party to dictate. That's not fair. Do they believe in democracy? What do they understand by democracy? We must make it fair. And it's not just one or two people. The Zambian people must make it fair. They must stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. So, for example, the coverage of political parties or political leaders, it should be fair. It should be impartial. So if the president of the country is allowed space on the government-controlled media, that space should be allowed for every other political candidate as well. It's only fair. What is democracy about? These are things that we need to change and live out. And if you're saying we're a Christian nation, where's Christianity there? If you are tilting things in a certain way. So basically, it's what we make of it. But it is imperative upon all of us as Zambians to ensure that the democratic principles are upheld and make sure the playing field is level for everybody. And we must speak out when that is not the case. Speak out.
You know, talking about speaking out, you know this president well. You know, you went to school, with him. If you had any time, any occasion where you've said, look, my friend, I think this is not the kind of guy I knew when I was in school. Can you ensure that the democratic tenets are in place?
The president is a busy man. He is a busy man. And we have met, we met a week ago, actually, at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross, and greeted each other. So he is a man and who trained as a lawyer, so we should be able to understand that this is the reality of things. And sure, you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So in the context of, as a president who took oath to uphold the Constitution, these are matters, of course, that have to be expressed and demonstrated. Yeah, so that is the important thing.
Yeah, you're both, lawyers. There's a question of him being eligible or not. Have you thought through this? Does it worry you whether he is abrogating the Constitution or not?
I'm not sure whether he's abrogating it, but I don't know.
Whatever. Okay, the decision hasn't been
yes,
made.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
And the matter is before the courts, and
Yeah.
it's something which I cannot express in terms of the context of what the courts may do or not do. But all I can say is, as a lawyer, as one versed in constitutional law, when you look at the Constitution, and if the Constitution states that whoever has held office and been sworn in twice, that is the Constitution. Yeah. And therefore, it is imperative, or whoever is the head of state, that when you do take the oath of office, you do swear to the Constitution that you uphold that. And so in that context, from a constitutional interpretation of what is stated there, one must adhere to what that says.
Well, we're going to break very shortly. Appropriate time to ask you now a million kwacha question. What kind of metamorphosis is UNIP going through now? What is the unit under Archbishop Trevor Mwamba represent? And it's a loaded question. And what are you saying to the people there that, UNIP is your savior today and tomorrow?
UNIP is the party of Zambia. This is the ancient party. Think of it in a way, I'm, as I said, extremely honored and blessed to have assumed the leadership of UNIP, that we're not just talking about UNIP in Zambia, we're talking about UNIP as a Pan-African party that has helped other countries, that has helped other parties, so it is held in the highest esteem outside Zambia. As I mentioned when I traveled out, and some of our partner parties were extremely ecstatic that UNIP has come back So I'm saying that UNIP is not just about Zambia. It's a great party. But in the context of UNIP in Zambia, UNIP is about the Zambian people. This is the party for all Zambians. UNIP is this big tent. And so the coming of UNIP at this time in our history is about gathering all Zambians together. Do you believe in peace? Then this is the party for peace. Do you believe in unity? Then this is the party for unity. Do you hate tribalism? Do you hate all that demeans our human dignity? This is the party for you. We hold to peace, to love, to working together, to creating a prosperous Zambia. This is what UNIP is about. But above all, UNIP is this party that has principles. The principles of God-fearing, the respect of humanity, the respect of one another, what I refer to in the context of humanism, or in the African philosophy and context of Ubuntu. We are there for each other. This is what UNIP is about. And UNIP, above all, is about seeking to uplift the plight of the vulnerable, the poor in our society. We want to ensure that the youth, the women, are enabled to fulfill their full potential. We are the party for all Zambians.
The people are watching, Archbishop. I think I would like to ask you this question. Bishop, there's this 12-point-something billion date, which whoever comes in is not going to make it easy, to enhance, the economy, to deal with the economy. Where do you start from in dealing with this date? Where do you start from in dealing with this, choking foreign, exchange, poverty, so many things?
Oh, true. In fact, if, the first 100 days, the main thing that we want to focus on is the economy, the economy, the economy. Yeah. You remember that when Bill Clinton was running for president.
Is the economy stupid?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the economy. Is it possible? Is it doable? Of course it is. It is. It is absolutely possible. So we want to address the economy. You see, you look at Zambia's wealth, just generally looking around the country. We haven't tapped it to its fullest potential. The copper, copper prices at their highest. And guess what? They'll continue to rise.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the whole climate change in the world that now countries in Europe and so forth, they're banning all these cars that run on petrol and diesel. They're all going electric. We have the commodity, the resource, the material that will be, which is essential for all that. We want to add value to all that. We want to work in partnership with others to come into the country and make sure that we add this value to our minerals. Well, there is the whole question of tourism, the question of agriculture, which is, again, untapped. And in all this, we want to add value to it. We want to look at our provinces and see which provinces will be anchor provinces for certain industries, as it was, in the past. Under UNIP, we had these things, the battery factory in Mansa, for example, the assembly plants and cereals produce some of the very best suits, You could get them in Oxford Street and Bond Street in England. In answer to your question, what I'm saying is it's doable. It's about competent economic leadership and drawing in others who can assist us. The debt issue, we have to deal with the World Bank, the the International Monetary Fund and so forth, and be transparent about everything so that we can move forward. And this is what will happen.
Where do you place China in all this? I mean, we're so married. I don't know. I can't even find the right phrase. We basically like an extension of China now in terms of economic relationship. Where do you place China in all this?
Well, you see, you have to look at the history of China and Zambia. That under UNIP and way back, the relationships existed, but it was, I would say, a mutual and equal partnership. It is when one partner becomes not just a senior, but dominating to the degree that. So in our relationship with China, China is a global player. We have to, of course, deal with all partners throughout the world, but on terms that are of acceptable and beneficial to our Zambian people, that people will benefit from such relationships. We have to draw that line. And so we'll continue dealing with China, but under different contexts in terms of equal partnership or beneficial win-win situation, like we would deal with all other parties.
One other major problem, I asked this so many times, I mean, I talk about it so many times, it's corruption. Corruption is a cancer. You can have, great policies, but if you don't deal with corruption, you're doomed.
Correct.
How is UNIT under your leadership going to deal with corruption?
Just as UNIP dealt with corruption in the past. We have the leadership code, there was zero tolerance to corruption, and likewise going forward. We'll ensure that the institutions that monitor and deal with people who want to cut corners are effective. And so, yes, we shall ensure that all leaders, whatever positions they may hold, subscribe, and we will pick the right people, people who are not corrupt and people who are not enticed, and we will focus on that and ensuring that corruption does not rear its ugly head at all. But above all, I think, as I just alluded to in the context of empowering institutions, that they do their job, and corrupt people are caught and they pay the price for their misdemeanors. That will be done.
Would your government, take to book, people are found wanting in this government, assuming you took over? Would you institute investigation?
I would not do that, but the institutions that are instituted to deal with such things will do that. And we want to make sure that those institutions function effectively, competently.
You're a man of the call, just before we go on break. In the past, the church was strong in issues of governance. Most churches in this country now have been compromised. And for a son of a reverend like me, it's pretty sad. From where I stand, I am not so sure what my late father would have taken of some of the churches today. Some of the men and women of the color were being compromised. Where does the churches fit into your programs of governance?
The church is a very powerful force. I'm not going to use institution. No, it's a force. It's and in life and in Zambia, as you know, the church has played a very prominent and powerful role in the past, especially performing midwifery roles. You remember from the time we transitioned from one party to multi-party democracy, the Cathedral of the Holy Cross meetings were held. So anyway, the church has played a very important role. I am reminded, going back, you know, our President Kaunda at one time reflected on stepping down, and how the then Bishop of Lusaka, Bishop Philemon Mataka, and the other church leaders went and persuaded him to stay on. So what I'm saying, the church has played an effective role in the development of this country. The church, of course, in other contexts, in terms of the schools and other hospitals and other agencies that help to alleviate the suffering of the poor. So the church, in that sense, plays a very important role. And of course, we just had the prayer meeting for leaders, and in seeking God's guidance and presence in making sure that the elections are peaceful. Those are all positive roles that the church plays. But I agree with you that, yes, like any institution or any place where human beings are, not everyone is perfect or, you know, whole. You have some cracked people here and there, and you find them in the church. But we cannot condemn the church because of the acts of one or two or three people who may be even prominent and think everybody's like that. There are many who are very devout and principled church leaders. We look to that.
What about our traditional chiefs, and what role do they have in the government of UNIP? I say this because they carry, you know, very important responsibilities.
Right.
They're giving land. The issues of the girl child, the whole moral fiber in the village, you know, is under our traditional, you know, chiefs. What role do you expect our chiefs to play, you know, in the UNIP government?
A very important role. A very important role, because our society is segmented into different players, if I may say so. We just talked about the church. We're talking about the role of traditional leaders. I mean, there are the NGOs, there are other associations, economic, law, and so on. All of these people have to play an important role. But as far as the traditional leaders are concerned, yes, we would want even to enhance their role. Because it is part of our tradition. It's part of our identity. And as you alluded to in the context of land, one would want to ensure that we give the powers, authority of the traditional rulers to actually give the title deeds and work out modalities of that. But anyway, in answer to your question, I'm saying that we'll definitely look to the traditional leaders and enhance their role in our society to much higher levels than has been.
On Camnet, Bishop Trevor Mwamba, the president of UNIP. We'll take a break. You know, when we come back, we spend 15-20 minutes, and if you've got any submissions, you know, through text, or if you want to call us, please, you know, do that after the break, and we'll look at one or two electoral, you know, issues as we lead up to the elections of 2021 in August. Join us very shortly.
We celebrate our first anniversary of starting the news on Camnet TV on the 23rd of May 2021. Our aim is to deliver world-class news that is balanced and factual without fear or favor.
You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel.
As we celebrate our first anniversary, we show you the team behind the Camnet TV World News and show you some of the news clips that made headlines.
On behalf of management and the entire newsroom, happy anniversary to Camnet News.
This is one of the areas that was highly affected by floods.
Behind me is a group of persons living with cross-cutting disabilities who every month gather at this place to receive alms from well-wishers.
The Monetary Policy Committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 8.5%.
This incident provoked Kambuli's daughter to slap one police officer, a development that annoyed the men and women in uniform.
At the revelations of President Edgar Lungu's running mate, Professor Nkanduluo, clad in her ivory flamboyant outfit, walked in majestically as a running mate should.
The latest is a couple of Lusaka's Kanyama compound. They've assaulted each other over a meager 20 kwacha.
Kudya nsima sinya mayoka waenda kuja wagulako chiwabwa cha 5 wagulako na tonshaba abana bazazi bazashita enjoy.
Have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you very much.
To you, our viewers, we say thank you for supporting us as we continue bringing you nothing but the best.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
My guest on On Camnet, the president of UNIP, Bishop Trevor Mwamba. If you've got any questions, please you can call us now or you can send in a text. The question of empowerment of our people is extremely important. I see the present government, giving out money, dishing out money at markets, things like that. How do you look at the issue of empowerment? What is the different thing that you're going to do to empower our people?
There's something to this effect that somebody is starving you, you can give them fish or meat or bread and so on. They'll eat the fish, the bread and all that, and it's finished. Or you can say, let me teach you to fish. And they will fish, and they will catch more fish, and they will make a living out of that.
Yeah.
Empowerment, in my view, should be about having something that is sustainable. They will get the money, they will blow it, and they'll be back to square one. So programs of empowerment should be programs that are aiming to enable people to live a sustainable life and get themselves out of poverty and enhance themselves and create jobs, entrepreneurs. So the role of the government, and rightly, should be one of enabling Zambians. And so we'll look at the youth, we'll look at women, we'll look at entrepreneurs generally and see, how does government come to your assistance? What can we do to enable you to make a living out of that? That's would be a means of addressing all this.
The importance of women in this country cannot be overemphasized, but we still haven't raised the number of women in positions of authority. Yes, the couple of women who have been appointed to positions of leadership. I see that you don't have a running mate with a female.
I got a young man who's
I would like you to deal with that, and also deal with why haven't we enhanced the numbers of women in positions of authority, and what will UNIP do differently?
Political will, and there should be legislation stating a certain percentage of women should be in parliament, and a certain percentage of women, in terms of positions. What one would want to do in terms of uplifting those who are, as it were, discriminated against is have what you might call an affirmative action plan, and to elevate those who are not looked at. And the political will must be there to ensure that this is what's happening. There are a lot of talented women out there, a lot of talented youth out there, and it's a question of getting them in the arena.
What do you be telling?
We want to do that.
Yeah, what would you be telling people who are saying, why has UNIP, under Bishop Mwamba not having a female, running mate?
Well, I would say actually that the Constitution is discriminatory. Discriminatory. How? You may say. Do you know that in order to be president of this country, and in order to be vice president, if you have dual citizenship, you cannot be president of this country, you cannot be vice president of this country, if you have a dual citizenship. However, if you have a dual citizenship, you can be a councillor, you can be a member of parliament, you can be a minister, but what's happening there? So, in answer to your question is that, yes, we did in fact look at the possibility of having a woman as a running mate, and they fell over the dual citizenship.
Right.
And this persons were born here and are truly Zambian, but got citizenship elsewhere because now we're allowed dual citizenship. That is it. So these, some of the our laws in our constitution which discriminate should be amended, because we can't have second-class citizens, and this is what they amount to, second-class citizens.
You've just made reference to the Constitution, Archbishop, and you are a lawyer. Are you going to revisit, the Constitution? And in saying so, why is the Constitution so contagious?
Again, I think it's to do with fear in the past of those who are engaged in trying to bring about change, and they didn't like certain things. They just left it. Yes, we would want to have a proper revision of the Constitution so that we come up with a Constitution that is 100% acceptable to all Zambians. And that is doable, and it's one of the things that we would definitely focus on.
How soon would you revisit the Constitution should you take over the reins of this country?
As soon as possible, because we are planning in terms of the Constitution is there as a living document, but as soon as possible, because there are many holes within the Constitution that needs to be filled in.
Let me ask you a question, since you have lived abroad for some time now. A lot of other countries, take advantage of those who are in the diaspora to contribute to the development of the country, especially in terms of the economy. I think Ghana is one typical example. What do you intend doing in order to bring the people in the diaspora, on board to be part of economic players for this country?
Absolutely, it's to attract them, to bring them back, and I totally agree that we're not utilizing the expertise and the skill sets of many of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. A lot of talented Zambians working in high positions in different professions out there. We need to draw them in. When we're looking for experts to do certain things, we'll have a database of all Zambians in the diaspora, so that we can call on any one of them to come and fill certain positions. I would think that, for example, in the office of the Vice President, we would set up a special unit that will be looking specially at the diaspora and see how they can be tapped and engaged in developing the country. So when we think of Zambia, it's not just we Zambians who are here at home. Zambia is broad, and they are our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are Zambians. And the other thing which I also would want to ensure is rectified and changed is our brothers and sisters in the diaspora cannot vote at this point in time. Yet we have embassies, high commissions abroad. They should be allowed to vote, and we'll make sure that happens. So yes, we will want to tap on the expertise of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora.
President Kondo, do you have somebody on the call? Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Evening, your name, please. Hello?
Hello?
Your name? We can hear you. What is your name, sir?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, please go ahead with the question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I can hardly hear anything.
We can hear you very clearly. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening, Ambassador Frank. If you're able to hear me, good evening, Ambassador Frank, and good evening, Bishop.
Good evening, good evening. Sorry, I didn't get your name, but good evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Bishop, Reverend Manduli.
Yes, Reverend? You're Reverend.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, my brother.
First of all, congratulations on your election as the President of UNEP.
Thank you very much, my dear brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All things being equal, and by the special grace of God, is elected as President after the 12th of August. What will be your agenda for our educational sector? Considering the fact that since I think, as far as I can recall, from independence, we've maintained, I think, the British system that we adopted from independence. And we haven't been able to probably enhance or develop our own educational system that will be able to identify the various talents and abilities of the children at a very tender age. Because not everyone is, if I may use the word, engineered the same. So there are people that will be able to excel, not by necessarily sitting behind a desk and being taught, the regular or traditional syllabus. So how will you be able to improve or create a system that will be able to identify the different abilities and talents of young people? Because other people can excel in mechanics from a very tender age, probably in carpentry, and so on and so forth. But it's like we've relegated those that are not able to learn the regular traditional education system as failures, as dunderheads, and thereby, rendering them, or relegating them to the street. So how would you be able to do things differently so that we are able to help these young people amount into citizens that will contribute in turn to the welfare of our society? Secondly, is the issue of corruption, which has so much eaten into the fiber of our economy and also of our moral compass as a nation, in terms of ensuring that it's not a theory or a song that is just being sung and then nothing is being done about it. Because I believe that even when the political system has been changed, the government of UNEP has taken over, you still have civil servants that are already affected by the corrupt elements. Because most of these people that, against this corruption are in the civil service. Of course, there are those that are in the political office holding the power. But whatever they do, it is also trickling down to the civil servants. So how do you hope and how will you be able to ensure that you are able to eradicate corruption into the governance system of our civil service as well, apart from the political elite?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Education policy and corruption.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On the education policies, I totally agree with everything you said. Yes, we inherited a British system which is very focused on the intellectual, academic approach. And we need to come up with an educational policy that caters for the different gifts that children have. Not everybody is academically gifted, but there are those who are in a more practical way. They're, in fact, in the context of sports, for example, music, and so on, so that we would identify children and see where their strengths lie and streamline them towards that. So yes, these are issues that we'll be looking at, because we would want to have an education system that is there to enable the country to also develop, so that the skill sets that will help us develop as a country are met by having a resource base of people who are trained specifically for that. So yes, the education aspect is an area which would be gone. Corruption, as I alluded to, it's about first and foremost making sure the institutions in place are there to do their job, ensuring that those people who are appointed to positions are not corrupt, they're not the best of one's ability or how one can tell when you do these appointments. That will then trickle down. I myself, I can assure you 100%, I am not corrupt. Money does not interest me and all that sort of thing, and I am not for sale. So if we can have leaders who step in, who are not for sale, then Zambia will be fine. And those are the ones who will be in control.
Right. Do you have any messages, which have come through? What is Archbishop Mwamba's take on political cadres and their role in political parties? Do we have another one? We'll take note of that. Do you have another one? Political cadres, the behavior, violence and things like that.
I mean, where have
your take on that?
Where have they come from? I mean, where have they come from?
I'm told that we got a call. Good evening, your name, evening, your name, please.
I'm calling from Zambezi.
You're calling from Zambezi? Yes, sir. What is your question, sir?
Yes, my contribution is just to be you back.
Evening, thank you.
You need to educate most of our parents that the most.
Thank you, sir.
Before I start contributing, I was very just disappointed with our colleagues who are filming our freedom fighting on the statue that is doing so nicely, our president.
I can't hear.
The one was giving film just, you don't have to, we were not saying where the president was putting other people there. We were only keep one statue where he's not there.
Okay. So what is the what are your questions?
I don't know how you can not
so what is it?
My contribution is welcome to the board.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Have we lost the caller? Is he there? We've lost the caller. I mean, we'll take that.
I couldn't hear.
Is welcoming Europe. If you want, please to participate, please, you can call us. If you want to ask my guest any questions. Do we have any message that has come through? What is Archbishop Mwamba's take on political cadres? We've dealt with that. Any other message that has come through? President Mwamba, are you going to nationalize mines, as was the case under UNIT? Bishop?
The simple answer to that is no. No, we're not going to nationalize the mines. But we would want to work with whoever owns the mines in a partnership, but not nationalize the mines.
Okay. Any more messages? Do we have some more messages? Bishop, you're saying things which are valuable. I'm watching from Eastern Province, Petauke. May God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you too.
Do we have somebody on the line? Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Evening, yeah, please go ahead with the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question is directed to the bishop. The bishop, I hear that he said changes powers in this country to solve some problems. Now, I want the bishop to answer me this question about this issue of third term. If it's him, what can he do for that, for Zambia, over these issues? Because this issue is very, very, very difficult to run Zambia. So if it's him, what can he do over this? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's basically about the eligibility.
Yes.
Of the president. It's a troubled question. It's really, divided, the country. I think perhaps let me help him. Why is it that you lawyers, many people, you just can't have a consensus on an issue like this? What is the problem?
I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, I talked about this in terms of what the Constitution states. The Constitution is very clear. It's very clear. And it says he who has been sworn in twice, that is it. You cannot be sworn in 3 times. There is no 3 times mentioned. It's as simple as that. Right. But you raise something interesting. This is lawyers and so on. There are those who have their own interpretations. And sometimes even the courts do err. And that is why we have the High Court, the Supreme Court, and cases are overturned because the judge did not take into consideration certain factors. Judges are human beings. They make mistakes. And one of my greatest judges or mentors when I was a law student was Lord Denning, an English judge and a remarkable man, a man of principles and justice. He's always sought to do justice in the particular case. And I imagine myself, what would Lord Denning say in this situation? And I myself, as a student of Lord Denning, or as a one who admires him, would think, what does the Constitution say? And for me, it's very simple. The Constitution states, if you have been sworn in twice, you're not eligible. That's the Constitution. The rest is for people to make up their minds, but that's what the Constitution states.
Right. During President Kaunda's reign, we were very well known because foreign policy was very important. Absolutely. Have we relegated foreign policy in this country? And in saying so, how UNIP look at foreign policy? What kind of foreign policy will UNIP have?
As you rightly state, Ambassador, that during President Kaunda and during UNIP, Zambia was very much at the center of foreign policy in the context of Africa and the world. As a member of the what was then the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, as members of the non-aligned states, as members of the Commonwealth, as members of the United Nations, Zambia was at the helm of what was happening. We maintained being members of the non-aligned nations because it was a time of the Cold War, a very pragmatic approach. And in terms of how we related to other countries, UNIP would take a similar position.
Right. Let me pick up in a call. Good evening.
Hello.
Evening. Your name, please.
My name is Anthony, calling from Chilabombo.
Anthony out Chilabombo this evening.
Yes, Chilabombo is fine.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just want to ask the bishop there. I remember when the MNG were in power for 20 years, no one was arrested concerning the issue of the formation of the president. But today, under this PF government, we have seen many people who are being jailed, who are serving sentences. The recent one was the Mulita now. So I want to ask the Archbishop there, if UNIP happen to form the government, will we allow him to
Zambians to question him concerning his governance. We saw the same thing with Manawasa. They used to call him cabbage. No one was arrested. What is the comment for the bishop concerning that matter?
Very good.
Thank you.
And as a rider to that, what kind of police force or service do we expect under unit?
Let me start with being insulted and being called all sorts of things. Well, people, this is a democratic country we live in. People can say whatever they want to say. So they can call me whatever they want to call me. They will not be arrested. And so that is the simple answer to that. But in the rider, in terms of the police service, the police, the judiciary, or any other institution is there to perform a certain role. And so the police would be expected to perform their role as described, as prescribed by the Constitution regarding to police services and so forth.
Right.
We cannot, in other words, allow any of the institutions, any of the services to be bipartisan in any way.
Right. Two questions then we wind up. Do we have any message before we wind up? You're really articulating real issues, President. We should debate from Andrew and Livingston. UNIP is the only party with youth and a young lady, whatever it is. Yeah. Anything else? UNIP, we are with you. Kalulushi. Anything else? Great. As we come towards the end of the show, one important question, Bishop. What is this election all about? What is at stake? And what is the message to UNIP and to the electorate at large?
What is at stake? What is at stake is it's the moral life of Zambia. The moral life of Zambia. In other words, do we sell our souls to that which divides, to that which destroys, to that which impoverishes us, to that which dehumanizes us? Do we sell ourselves to that which does not give life? Or do we give ourselves to that which unites us, to that which enhances us, to that which prospers us, to that which makes us good human beings in the eyes of God and in each other's eyes? Do we walk in the light or do we walk in the darkness? That is the choice that is before us now. And in the context of UNIP, this is the party that sought to draw people in this light and unite people, bring prosperity to people, ensure that all Zambians benefit from the resources that God has given this great country, and putting Zambia first. So that's the choice people have to make. So if we want to stick to a certain path of corruption, or a path of non-corruption, a path of prosperity, and a path of poverty, the choice is with the Zambians. And it becomes very simple in my view that UNIP shall provide that right path.
Tell me, people have been asking, why don't we elect good people? Would you like to answer that question? Why don't we?
People do. People do.
Or is it the system?
Hold on. People do to a great degree. They are good people, and they are bad people. And so it's not that all. That's where the redemption lies. Even now, as we go for the elections, the choice will be presented. But as we started, remember it was all about integrity, ethics. How do you know the person? Those who are faithful in small things will be faithful in big things. Those whose lives are seen to be absolutely, corrupt, you've given them, a whole arena to play in, they will reveal themselves. So the election part, the onus then falls on each individual Zambian to reflect and think carefully about how they cast their vote. Because in my view, this is the point, the politicians don't have any power. They may strut themselves, and as Shakespeare says, you know, there's a bit about where it says man, or in this case woman or humankind, dressed in a little brief authority, plays such fantastic tricks before high heaven as to make the angels weep. In other words, these people with power think that they are there forever. But the power, they don't have that power. The people who hold that power are the Zambian people. And the Zambian people have the power to remove and to change. But above all, the true leader is the one who comes as a servant. What you'll be doing on August the 12th is electing your servants. So I would say elect the servant who will best serve you. And you can fire that servant if you don't like that servant. And so in the end, all politicians are but servants. Hence, politics is about public service.
Right. You got a strong marriage, happily married, strong family. How important is that to your leadership and how you perform?
Family, friends make us who we are. If friends are not there, family are not there, it affects you. We are communal beings, you know, we are social beings, and the family ties are very important, yes.
Finally, the question I always ask, especially to my Christian guests, if you meet Jesus in flesh, immediately we finish the interview, what kind of discussion, what kind of issues would you raise with him?
I meet Jesus every time in spirit, and through you and others, but I meet Jesus. And this is what I hear the Lord Jesus saying to me. He says, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me water. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was in prison and you visited me. In other words, the Jesus I meet is the Jesus who serves. And in that context of this relationship with Jesus, Jesus says to me, I come to you in the vulnerable, in the poor, and there I want you to serve me. And so whenever we are uplifting anybody, we are also uplifting Jesus.
Thank you for making an appearance on my show.
Thank you very much,
Making an appearance
Ambassador.
on Camnet, on Frank on Camnet. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
My guest on Frank on Camnet, you know, Bishop, you know, Trevor Mamba, the president of UNIT. I thank him very much. And indeed, I thank, you know, our viewers and those who, you know, contributed. To those who have been honored on this important, you know, day, including President Kaunda, congratulations to you all. God bless you. Like I keep on saying, my phrase, my message to the rest of the country is, do your very best and God will do the rest. On behalf of my production crew, Ambassador Frank Mutabela. Good evening to you all, and God bless you until next Tuesday. Good night.